Have you ever found yourself questioning why me?
Imagine being blindsided by cancer, mourning the devastating loss of a child, undergoing a heart transplant, witnessing all your employees quit, and enduring the heartache of a spouse leaving you for someone else.
All of this turmoil crushing down within a relentless span of just 3 years. It sounds like something out of a novel, doesn't it?
This is a reality that was faced by Laura Broome, the author of Flourishing After Adversity.
Her story is a profound exploration into the depths of personal hardship, challenging us to reflect on our own lives. It begs the question, are we truly living to the fullest or are we merely existing?
She offers us a fresh, empowering perspective on confronting life's most daunting challenges head on.
Laura shares the roadmap she followed to navigate her journey from heartbreak to healing, providing insight on how you can do the same.
And make sure to stay with us until the end. We'll be sharing 3 pivotal points on overcoming adversity. Welcome to Rewrite Your Story, the podcast where change begins with you.
We're your hosts, Stephen and Charlene.
As professional coaches and mentors trained in various modalities, we have helped hundreds of people
Bridge the gap between the person they are
and the person they want to be.
We bring you conversations with real people who have overcome real setbacks.
You will walk away with practical steps to find more clarity, alignment, and success in any area you want to improve.
So join us and discover how you have the power to overcome, to change, and to rewrite your story.
So pick up the pen. Your new chapter starts now. It sounds like you've had so much going on in your life in such a short span of time. And it's almost like it's for a lot of people, they think, how do you catch a breath? Like, it didn't give you time to catch a breath. Like, what was it that helped you to get through each one?
Yeah, that's a lot of trauma.
It is. I found strength that I had no idea I had inside me. Sometimes I just laugh at myself and go, gosh, how did I get through that? And it's just kind of like when you're in the moment, you just say, what is the most important thing I need to do? I just need to take care of this. And sometimes it was just living in the moment, just going day by day. There was a point right before I got breast cancer early on in our business. My twin sister was living with me. She actually had congestive heart failure, but it wasn't showing up in me at that time until the chemo kind of flipped the trigger. My husband at the time was in the Army Reserves. He was deployed to Africa for 3 weeks. And so it's like, okay, just hold the fort down until he gets back and we'll work on getting some new employees. I was down to 1 employee at each location, and 1 quit the first week, the second quit the second week. And for the 3rd week, I was our own employee working both of our locations. They were 60 miles. It was like an hour and a half. And my sister was in the hospital. And I was just working half day at one location, half day at the other location, coming home and stopping by the hospital to check her and then go home, get a couple of hours sleep and do it all over again. And I tell you, I had forgotten about that until I was telling my story and kind of writing my book. And I thought, if you told me I had to do that today, I'd say there's no way I could do that. But I had to. We had customers I needed to take care of. I had my sister I needed to check on. And you find hidden strength that, it's there. We just don't tap into it until we're in extraordinary circumstances. And then that's when I kind of joke around. It's when you kind of pull that up and you go, okay, I'm going to persevere. I'm going to get through this. And I think it's very easy to just become a victim and say, why me? Why is this happening? But I had so many people that depended on me to keep going. And I didn't want our customers to leave because we needed the customers. We were known for our excellent customer service. And, but I think that was a very tough 3 weeks, but I knew it was going to end. As soon as my husband got back, I knew he could help carry the load and we can go through the hiring process again and life goes on. So I think it's important to know that yes, change or difficult circumstances are going to come, but they're temporary. They might last 3 weeks, they might last several years, but one thing that is constant is change.
Yeah.
And you just have to know, you have to start changing your perspective to look for good things, just for the little things that, like I said, if you practice gratitude, you can find gratitude in anything. And because it changes your focus from the negative to looking for something positive. And that's a game changer. That was a game changer for me.
Did you say that's a big part of the resilience for you as well?
Yes. Gratitude and radical acceptance. I did not know what that term was until I was going through my divorce. And like I said, because everything had shut down, I love learning. I love learning. If I could just be locked in a library, I'd be just happy. Throw me some peanut butter crackers, I'll be fine. But I was looking for a book to help me move forward, because a lot of books that are written on divorce, there's different kinds of books, either like, I couldn't find one that I was looking for and to move on. And then I finally found one. It was actually written for deciding whether to stay or divorce. Well, that wasn't my case. I just needed the part to move on. And they talked about radical acceptance. And it was, my head just kind of went like, it was like an aha moment, because the book also talked about doing an autopsy of your marriage. And that was eye-opening to me, because I had to own up to things that I was, it was part of my fault too. But it helped me to see kind of that autopsy. I just loved that idea. And then you go into radical acceptance, and you don't have to like it. You don't have to approve it, but you have to accept it. And that's where I was struggling. Why can my husband just flip the switch and move on in another relationship? I spent half my life married. How was I just to do the same thing? And that radical acceptance was the pivot point, not only just in the divorce, but just in everything. When you know it's out of your control, you have to accept it. Otherwise, you're going to keep suffering. That pain turns into suffering, because you're reliving that moment and that pain over and over again. And it's best to accept it and move on. And I'm sure people think, well, it's not just a switch. You can say, okay, I'm going to do something different. But that's when you have to work with your feelings, and you have to process all those feelings, that emotional roller coaster. And in my case, I went to counseling. I went to our marriage counselor for individual counseling, because I didn't want to rehash the problems we were trying to work through. And that was the best thing, because the first thing, as I was going through my feelings, she would say, okay, what are you going to work on this week? And I was like, I don't know. And she said, come up with a schedule of what do you want to do? She's putting the focus on how to recover from what I needed to do with the heart transplant, because I needed to move around. I needed to take care of myself. So she had me focus on what I could do with that to move forward. And that was the best thing. I would make up a weekly schedule. Because of my office skills, I liked using Excel. So I came up with a schedule for the week, and I would email it to her. And so every time I would meet with her, we'd go over what I accomplished and what I was going to work on in the next week. And then my appointments kind of spread further along. So, but yeah, radical acceptance, gratitude. Every night before I went to bed, I'd find 3 things that I was grateful for that day. And sometimes it was a struggle, but then it's kind of like you do go through Maslow's hierarchy. I've got a place to sleep. I've got food, and I feel safe, and I'd be grateful for that. And every day I'd try to, and I would keep it on my phone so that I'd always have it with me when I'd start feeling down. And then I would just keep adding to it every day. I'd add one more. And then it just got to where I could, by just practicing those baby steps, every day I could find it without having to look for it. And I just started going, oh, wow, I'm so grateful that this happened. And it just became a habit. I just started seeing things everywhere to be grateful for. It's just a beautiful sunny day or just anything. And it really brings that joy back into your life.
Laura, when we talk to people and when I've been coaching people, or probably Charlene, when you're counseling or coaching, there's so many areas in your story where you could have lost yourself as in your identity, because your son took his life and you were a mother. But not only are you a mother, you're an adopted mother. So there's the mother identity, there's the adoptive mother identity. Then you had a mastectomy, and that challenges your identity as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a heart transplant. So now your identity is a donor recipient, and thinking about who was your donor and those type of thoughts. Like, I'm sure that plays a big part as well. And then your identity as a wife, your identity as a business owner. How did you come out of it, as in you didn't get stuck in your identity as those people, but you created a new identity for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't been asked that before. I think it's because just over the years, I've played so many roles. It's just, I think it's just, I just kind of with the flow when it comes to the roles. Now, like you mentioned, the identity, the divorce was probably the most devastating to me out of everything, because I saw it as rejection. I wasn't good enough. I had all these flaws, because as a wife, if your husband leaves you for another woman, you immediately start thinking, what's wrong with me? Am I not pretty enough? I have all the baggage. You raise a family, you have your own ups and downs. Is it just something new and shiny that caught my husband's eye that's just less problems or just more fun? And it's like you just question everything about you. And that was probably my lowest point, because I just had no control over that, and I couldn't fix that. And so I do have a strong Christian faith, and that's probably what turned things around, because I just said, I'm a child of God. And there's always been a saying, God don't make no junk. And so I had to go back and realize, I went through the Bible and I just looked at, I was fearfully and wonderfully made. And I started realizing the only thing that matters is what God made me for, how he loves me no matter what, flaws and all. And that's probably where I found my new identity, and that I was worthy. I do have a purpose in life. I realized I don't have control over what people think of me. And when you realize that, it really is kind of empowering, because it's like I'm in control of my thoughts, my words, my actions. I don't have control over other people. And if they have a problem with me, and unless we can talk about it, I mean, I'm a very friendly person. At least that's what everybody tells me. And if people have a problem with me, and sometimes I can be a people pleaser, and I want to know, why don't they like me? But then I realize it's not me. Maybe it's them. When I was working, I was in my 20s. I think this was before I met my husband. And I worked with a bunch of women, which I realized I don't really like working with a bunch of women, because you get into all those little cliques. But I had some good friends. And this one lady, well, she was young, she was my age, but she just kind of had this, I could tell she didn't like me. And I'm like, I start going, well, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why doesn't she like me? Everybody else likes me. And come to find out, she was there for, I don't know, over a year, 2 years, and her husband got relocated with this job. And she came up to me during her going away party, and she said, Laura, I just want to apologize for the way I've treated you this last year and a half. And she said, you remind me so much of my husband's ex-girlfriend. And I just could not like you because you look so much like her. And I hated her so much. And she said, I think we could have really been good friends. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. But I realized it wasn't me. It was something that she was dealing with. So when you realize, I mean, and that, so truly that's empowering. When, you don't have control over anybody else. You don't have control over their thoughts, what they say, but you do have control over yourself. And what can you do with that empowerment? You can change your thoughts, go from negative to positive thoughts. You can use more positive self-talk. Your actions, you can find little things to move you forward. So it's a mindset. And I talk about a growth mindset. It's just getting rid of those limiting beliefs and realizing life's going to be hard. And as long as we can grow from it and find those little nuggets, those little positive nuggets, we can get through this. So, I mean, my identity now, I'd say, is that I'm a mom, I'm a twin, and I'm solopreneur. I'm going to be a grandmother. I think it's important not to put too many labels on yourself, because then you're going to limit yourself. Like when I went through the divorce, I did not want to be labeled as a middle-aged divorced woman, because that tells you right there the stereotype. Well, obviously her husband left her for another woman. I wonder, was she younger, prettier? What was the deal? And it's like, that was his problem. This is a new lease on life. And what am I going to do with it?
While you're talking and talking about mindset and all that, just the one thing that comes to my mind is Romans chapter 1 that says, be not conformed to the pattern, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's what you're saying. It's like, start transforming the way you think and don't label yourself.
Right. Because, I mean, anything could be possible. If somebody told me I would be, helping people get through, move on after adversity and find joy again, I'd go, I don't know. Well, I mean, I kind of have been through some stuff, but I don't know if I could do that. But then going through what I did, it's like, oh my gosh, I did it. And I want to tell people, you can do it too. I'm not anybody special. I'm just an ordinary person who's been through extraordinary things, but I know how to get to the other side. And I want to share that. It's not a secret. There's tons of people out there that I take inspiration from, either from family and friends or in the community or even celebrities. Find somebody, because they're going to have an amazing story. And if they can do it, why can't you? You just have to tell yourself, I can do this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, but I'm not going to give up because I want a better life.
Why do you think some people bounce back after adversity and others don't?
I find it's that choice of being a victim or a victor. It sounds simple, but to me, those are your two choices. Even if you try not to decide, it's still a decision. You're just kind of hung in limbo. You're not gonna. You're just kind of stuck. And you can be a victim. I do know people who have been through hard circumstances, and they choose to be the victim. Life isn't fair. I never catch a break. And when you see people who are going through similar circumstances or, again, difficult circumstances, and say, I'm going to get through this, it's that mindset. It's that growth mindset. A fixed mindset says, I can't do this. Somebody's holding me back. I need somebody to save me. I need somebody to do this for me. A victor or survivor is going to say, this is tough, but I've got so much to live for. I need to get through this. And so it just comes down to a choice. You can't make people make choices. You can only make that choice for yourself.
In your opinion, is resilience something someone is born with, or is it something we can develop over time?
It's definitely something you can develop over time. I think some people, I've kind of gone back and forth with it. I mean, it's definitely something, it's like a muscle. You can build it, you can strengthen it. I think it just kind of, again, goes with your mindset. Some people say, well, how did you learn to be so resilient? I don't know if I learned it. I joke around and say, I'm just kind of fat, dumb, and happy. I know it's easier to go through life like that sometimes. But I mean, when I was 10, I had an adverse reaction to the anesthesia and muscle relaxant for an ear operation. And my temperature spiked over 107, and I went into a coma. And the doctors told my parents that if I came out of the coma, which was very unlikely, that I would have brain damage. And 24 hours later, I came out of the coma, and the doctors said I don't have brain damage. But it was a scary time for my parents. I can remember being in the coma, laying in my bed, and hearing them talk to me. And I came out of the anesthesia, and my muscles were real contracted. I had to work on strengthening my arms and legs out. But as a 10-year-old kid, I just wanted to go home and play with my friends. And I have a hole in my eardrum that's the size of a quarter that I've learned throughout life. If I go swimming, put my earplug in. If I take a shower, put my earplug in. And it's like life just kind of goes on. And my parents didn't treat me any different. They didn't want to put any limitations on me. But I think, kids can be very resilient. It's as adults, we go through those hard knocks of life. And so we pull back every time we go through a bad situation. And then when we go through a tragic situation, then we've lost all confidence. We're fearful. We don't know if we can get out of our comfort zone. I tell people 3 years ago, I was pushed outside my comfort zone. The door was closed, locked, and I couldn't get back in. So I had to learn to something new. I had to learn and look for new possibilities. I don't recommend that for anybody, but I would say just start doing something new. And if you drive to work or you're driving to a friend's house, find a new way to get there. I mean, there's so many things we do in life that we don't think about, which is finding a new way of doing something or getting somewhere. That's resilience. And so I just want people to understand it. You just have to be cognizant and know what resilience looks like, because you're probably already doing it. You just need to step out of your comfort zone. And we like to be in our comfort zone because it's comfortable. But then what happens when you're at a job that you don't like? And I mean, I can remember so many times I'd be at a job. It's like, I hate this job. But well, I could go look for another one, but that's scary. You gotta, it's hard. It just requires a lot of effort. I'll just stay here miserable in my comfort zone. So you just have to learn to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And there's your motivation to take that first step and get out.
Yeah, I love that.
That even if you are not going through any struggles and you're just quite comfortable going through life, you can actually start to build your resilience just by trying something different, like every day or like regular basis.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's real easy to do it. It's just it's that creative problem solving that you start learning to do. Like you could take any kind of object around the house and think of how many different uses can I make of this. It would be like taking a word and seeing how many words can you make out of the letters in the word. It's just getting those, getting your mind to look at something in different ways. There used to be a show when I was growing up, I think they've done a remake of it called MacGyver, and he was this. It used to be a joke. He could do anything, fly a plane, fix anything with a paperclip and a rubber band. That was the joke. If he had those two things, he could save the world. And it's kind of that concept. What do I have that I can use in a new way to find a new opportunity? And that includes, I mean, just with your personal assets is also who's supportive people that you could ask for help when you need it. What are other resources available to you? There's YouTube videos, there's just internet, there's community resources. What resources do you have at your disposal that you can add into your personal assets to solve a problem, to change your life? Be creative, think outside the box. It's a wonderful world out there when you realize all the possibilities that can happen. We just keep ourselves in this little box doing our same thing every day. And I used to get so jealous of people who could just go out and try new things, take risks and all that. And I've learned what my Goldilocks zone is what I call it, because it's that fear and excitement. They're very similar. It just depends on the degree that you get it. And so I've learned to find my little Goldilocks zone where I know how much risk I'm willing to take, to enlarge my comfort zone. But I also know, like, public speaking is still hard for me. And that's when the excitement starts turning into fear. And I go, wait a minute, is it about you or your message? It's about my message. I want to tell people they can do this. And so that's what I think is important for people, to find their Goldilocks zone between fear and excitement. And that'll help them get out of their comfort zone.
You've recently finished writing a book called Flourishing After Adversity. Do you want to speak into that book and tell us a little bit about what the book is about and what the reader can expect?
Yes, thank you. In order to get my message out, I decided to write my framework into a book that I can get it into more people's hands. And it's the same 3-step framework that I used to, in the last 3 years that I think will help anybody handle any obstacles, large or small, and to move forward. And so I got some of my stories in it, and I kind of start each chapter. I start with a little story about what I went through, and then resilience concepts, coping strategies, and resilience skills. And then I end with the rest of my story. And so there's some case studies I use of people that also, some famous people that have overcome their own hardship. And so it took me a while to write, because it was some of the stories I had to write about were kind of difficult, but I felt it was important to share because I've been through so many life-changing events in a short period of time. I'm hoping that somebody is going to resonate with those stories. So, and there's some humor in it. I do believe that when it's time to find the humor in life and in our hardships, I write about one story when I was going through the breast cancer. I knew I was going to have to lose my hair because I've seen other people go through it. But when it started happening, it was really hard. And so there was a movie called G.I. Jane with Demi Moore. I never saw it, but I would remember in the trailer, she would shave her hair, shave her hair off like the other soldiers. And I thought, if she could do it, I can do it. And so I did shave my head and got my wig. And it was in summer, and it was so hot here in Texas. It's really, really hot. And so I was joking around about I had like a synthetic wig, I think my first one. And I said, I'm really worried that the heat from my head is going to set my wig on fire. And so I would talk about taking my wig off and fanning my face because it was so hot. But you have to find the humor in situations when it's right. And so I talk about that too. But the I end the book on a high note, and I go through my 3 steps: conquering fear of change, discovering your superpowers to overcome obstacles, like I've talked about, and then thinking outside the box to find opportunities. And so I end the book with living a life without regrets and living your bucket list now. Don't wait till you're older, because life is to be lived, not to exist. And I think I was existing before everything changed. I was kind of existing, always just kind of waiting to retire and so I could do everything. Well, my gosh, we're living longer. I could, like right now, I love the fact that I can work, but it's not, I have more of a work balance life now, and I love it because I got a granddaughter coming. So I want to make sure I have time to spend it with her too, spoil her, hand her back. But it's and two, leaving a legacy of resilience to the next generation, or even with each other. The book is designed, that saying, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, and he can feed himself for a lifetime. That's what I want my book and my framework to do. Is I want to teach people how to strengthen their resilience, and so that they can teach others their practical action steps in the book and in the framework. And I just want it to spread. I want us to teach our children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. I'm also a mentor with an organization that helps youth transition out of foster care into living on their own. And that's what I got involved in after my adoptive son passed away. I wanted some way to honor his memory. And so that's just my passion, to let people know you can have a wonderful life. It's your choice. But here are the skills and the strategies and the tools to do it if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. You've gone through so much, Laura, and you've come out the other side. You've just taken life by the horns. And what advice would you give to someone who wanted to start to rewrite their story?
Do it. Start today. Start with what you can do and start practicing gratitude. Because it's like practicing gratitude is like putting on special glasses where you can see so many positive things in the world and opportunities, people you meet. I mean, there's reasons why paths cross, and there's reasons why something didn't happen, but that had to happen so that this could happen. And it's just when you get up in the morning and go, what kind of wonderful things are going to happen today? They will happen. I can remember I used to, one morning I woke up, this is just in the crazy life of raising kids and working and all that stuff. And I remember going, oh gosh, it's just Wednesday. Oh, what fresh hell is going to happen today? And that's not living. That's existing. That's already telling yourself it's going to be a bad day. But when you wake up and you go and you just change that mindset, it can happen. And I just want to shout it from the rooftops. And if I can do it, anybody else can.
Laura, what would you do? Like, if you could go back and rewrite your life story now, what would that look like?
I wouldn't really want to change anything, because I am who I am today. But if I had to change something, I would tell my younger self, take those little chances. Just take this little risk and experience life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Laura.
Laura, it's been a great pleasure having you on our show. Thank you so much. And if you want to know more about Laura, and also to get a copy of her book, Flourishing After Adversity, make sure you get to her website, which is icopetohope.com. We'll also have all her notes in the show notes, and also a direct link to her website and to the book. So, Laura, again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. It was a joy. I appreciate it very much.
Like, what a journey we've had today. You know, it really reminds us of resilience, acceptance, and discovering our inner strength. It's a reminder of how resilient the human spirit is and the capacity to really overflow and flourish.
Absolutely. Today's story isn't just about a narrative of overcoming, it's a blueprint for transformation. The first lesson we've taken to heart, right, is the undeniable power of resilience. It's clear that resilience isn't merely about weathering the storm, but it's actually about learning how to dance in the rain.
So I think that was really well said. And it's that dance, that movement forward, which can bring us to the second lesson that we can take out of this, embracing change and the practice of radical acceptance. And I know we've spoken about radical acceptance before. It's about making peace with what is rather than what could have been, allowing us to pivot from the place of loss to one of possibility and one of being open to what is.
Yeah, and that seamlessly leads us to a third lesson, which is the discovery and leveraging of our personal superpowers. Each of us holds a unique set of talents and strengths and capacities. So when that's harnessed, we can transform our lives and the lives of those around us.
And as we reflect on these lessons, let's not forget the underlying message of today's interview, that no matter the adversity, each of us has the ability to rewrite our story. It may require us to dig deep, to face our fears, and to embrace change, but the outcome is a life lived on purpose, joy, and resilience is undoubtedly worth it.
So, as we close today's episode, we invite you to ponder on these lessons. Really think about what you've heard and consider how you can apply the power of resilience, the acceptance of change, and the discovery of your superpowers to your life. Remember, it's never too late to start rewriting your story. Thank you for joining us on the Rewrite Your Story podcast.
We hope you found this episode enlightening.
For more information on the topics discussed, please visit our website at stephenandcharlene.com.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, share it with your friends, and follow us on social media at Stephen and Charlene.
Until next time, stay informed and inspired.
This is Stephen and Charlene signing off from the Rewrite Your Story podcast. Thank you and stay blessed.